Picture this, a nation on the brink of greatness, dreaming of an empire to rival the world's superpowers. This isn't the story of England, Spain, or Portugal. This is the story of Scotland and its ambitious, disastrous attempt to build a global trading empire. Welcome to the tragic tale of the Darien Scheme. In the late 17th century, Scotland was in a tough spot. The country was suffering from famine, political instability, and a struggling economy. England, its powerful southern neighbor, had passed the Navigation Acts, which severely restricted Scottish trade with its burgeoning colonies. Scottish merchants and nobles felt trapped, watching as other European nations grew rich from their overseas ventures. They believed Scotland needed its own colony, a key to unlock global trade and national prosperity. Enter William Paterson, a charismatic and persuasive Scottish financier. Having helped found the Bank of England, Paterson was a man of big ideas. He proposed a bold plan. Scotland would establish a colony on the Isthmus of Panama, in a region then known as Darien. This colony, which he called Caledonia, would sit at the crossroads of the world. It would create an overland route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, a shortcut that would revolutionize global trade. Goods from Asia could be unloaded on the Pacific side, transported across the narrow isthmus, and then shipped to Europe, bypassing the treacherous and lengthy voyage around South America. The idea was brilliant, at least on paper. Paterson promised that Darien would become the door of the seas and the key of the universe, making Scotland one of the wealthiest nations on earth. The Scottish people were electrified. The Darien Scheme wasn't just a business venture. It became a symbol of national pride and defiance. People from all walks of life, from wealthy lords to humble shopkeepers, clamored to invest. It's estimated that between 1.25% of all the available capital in Scotland was poured into the Company of Scotland Trading. To Africa and the Indies, the official name for the Darien venture, people sold their homes and emptied their life savings, all betting on this one grand project to secure Scotland's future. The enthusiasm was unstoppable, a tidal wave of nationalistic fervor. In July 1698, the first expedition set sail from the port of Leith. 5 ships, carrying around 1,200 hopeful colonists, embarked on their journey to the Promised Land. They called their new home New Edinburgh. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. The reality of Darien was far from the paradise Paterson had described. The land was not fertile and ready for farming. It was a swampy, mosquito-infested jungle. The heat was oppressive, and tropical diseases like malaria and dysentery began to rip through the colony. The settlers were woefully unprepared. They had brought heavy wool clothing, completely unsuitable for the tropical climate, and their provisions rotted in the humidity. Their plan to trade with passing ships also failed. Why? Because the Spanish, who claimed the entire region as their own, saw the Scottish colony as an invasion. They were not interested in trading. They were interested in getting rid of them. More devastatingly, King William of England, who was also King William of Scotland, actively worked against the scheme. Fearing it would anger Spain and disrupt his delicate European alliances, he ordered English colonies in the Americas, like Jamaica and New York, not to provide any aid, supplies, or support to the desperate Scottish settlers. Scotland was truly on its own. Starvation and disease decimated the colony. Within months, hundreds were dead. The survivors were skeletal, their spirits broken. In June 1699, less than a year after they arrived, the few remaining colonists abandoned New Edinburgh, setting sail for home. But their ordeal was far from over. Of the 1,200 who had left Scotland with such high hopes, only around 300 made it back alive. Incredibly, back in Scotland, news traveled slowly. Unaware of the first expedition's complete failure, a second, even larger fleet was dispatched. This group of over 1,000 new settlers arrived in November 1699 to find the settlement deserted and in ruins. They tried to rebuild but faced the same impossible conditions. This time, the Spanish didn't just wait them out. They mounted a military siege. Outnumbered, starving, and sick, the Scots held out for a month before finally surrendering in March of 1700. The Darien Scheme was officially over. The aftermath in Scotland was catastrophic. The nation was bankrupt. The massive loss of capital, which represented a huge portion of the country's wealth, crippled the economy. But the loss was more than just financial. It was a crushing blow to the national psyche. The dream of a Scottish empire was dead, and with it, a great deal of Scottish pride and confidence. The failure left Scotland politically and economically vulnerable, creating a power vacuum that England was quick to fill. Many historians argue that the Darien disaster was the single most important factor leading to the 1707 Acts of Union, which formally united the kingdoms of Scotland and England to create Great Britain. The English government offered to cover Scotland's massive debts from the Darien Scheme, a financial bailout that was too tempting for the bankrupt Scottish Parliament to refuse. In exchange for this, and for access to England's protected colonial markets, Scotland gave up its independence. The key to the universe had instead become the key that locked the door on an independent Scotland for the next 300 years. The story of the Darien Scheme is a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris, poor planning, and nationalistic fervor overwhelming common sense. It's a story of ambition and tragedy, of a small nation that dared to dream big and paid a terrible price. It shaped the course of Scottish and British history in ways that are still felt today. A forgotten chapter for many, but a pivotal moment that changed the map of the world forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. See you next time.